Hello everyone. My name is Dr. Anshana Tak. I am Associate Professor and HOD in the Department of Prasuti Tantra Evam Sri Rog, Uttarakhand Ayurveda University, Dehradun. In this video, I am going to explain Sri Shroni as per Ayurveda and female pelvis as per the modern text. This is my humble effort to explain this topic in a simplified manner. In case of any query or doubt, you may ask in the comment box.
स्त्री श्रोणी। आयुर्वेद मतानुसार स्त्री की श्रोणी का प्रमाण पुरुष के उरस प्रदेश के समान माना गया है। टीकाकार चक्रपाणी के अनुसार चतुर्विंशत्य अंगुलम उरो विस्तारम उक्तम तत्प्रमाणा स्त्री श्रोणिर्ज्ञा, अर्थात पुरुष का उरस 24 अंगुल विस्तार का होता है तथा उसी प्रमाण की स्त्री श्रोणी है। मीन्स स्त्री श्रोणी भी 24 अंगुल प्रमाण की मानी गई है। श्रोणी की अस्थियाँ। महर्षि चरक के अकॉर्डिंग स्त्री श्रोणी में 3 अस्थियाँ मानी गई हैं, 2 श्रोणी फलक तथा 1 भगस्थी। सुश्रुत मतानुसार स्त्री श्रोणी में 5 अस्थियाँ होती हैं, 2 नितंबस्थी, 1 भगस्थी, 1 गुदस्थी तथा 1 त्रिकस्थी। जबकि महर्षि वाग्भट ने स्त्री श्रोणी में 4 अस्थियाँ मानी हैं, 2 नितंबस्थी, 1 भगस्थी तथा 1 त्रिकस्थी। मीन्स वाग्भट का डिस्क्रिप्शन सुश्रुत के समान है, एक्सेप्ट कि इसने सुश्रुतोक्त 1 गुदस्थी का वर्णन नहीं किया है। इसको आप इस तरह से भी याद कर सकते हैं, चरक सुश्रुत वाग्भट 354। श्रोणी की संधियाँ। त्रय कटि कपालेषु, अर्थात कटि कपालों में 3 संधियाँ होती हैं। और अगर हम संधियों के प्रकार देखें तो गुद भग एवं नितंब में सामुदक तथा कटि कपालों में तुन्न सेवनी प्रकार की संधि होती है। फीमेल पेल्विस। Pelvis is formed by 4 bones, 2 innominate bones right and left, 1 sacrum and 1 coccyx. It has got 4 articulations or joints, 2 sacroiliac joints, that is, this is a synovial plane joint between the sacrum and the ilium, the symphysis pubis. This is a cartilaginous joint between the right and left pubic bone, this one, and the sacrococcygeal joint, which is again a cartilaginous joint between the apex of the sacrum and the coccyx. This is an amphiarthrotic joint, means it has limited mobility. This is the structure of pelvis. But before proceeding, let's revise the important parts of hip bone, as some of its terms will be frequently used ahead. Parts of hip bone or the innominate bone. As we can see, this is the left innominate bone. The hip bone consists of 3 parts: ilium, pubis and ischium. Together these 3 form a cup-shaped socket called acetabulum, where the head of femur articulates. The superior margin of the ilium is known as iliac crest. On the posterior side there is an indentation called the greater sciatic notch. Now coming to the pubis. It has a pubic body, the superior pubic rami that extends towards the acetabulum, the inferior pubic ramus that projects towards the ischium. Together these superior and inferior rami, they enclose the obturator foramen. Now the ischium. It also has a body, a superior ramus and the inferior ramus. On the posterior-inferior aspect, it has a very prominent ischial tuberosity, this one. At the junction of the superior ramus and the body, there is ischial spine. Plane of pelvic inclination. If we join the 2 points, that is the sacral promontory and the upper border of the pubic symphysis in the center, we get the plane of inclination. This plane of inclination makes an angle of about 55 degrees with the horizontal. This angle is known as the angle of inclination. Sacral angle. This is the angle between the plane of inlet and the first two pieces of sacrum. This angle is normally 90 degree or greater than 90 degree. False pelvis. The part of the pelvis which lies above the pelvic brim is known as false pelvis or pelvis major or the greater pelvis. It is bounded by the lumbar vertebrae posteriorly, iliac fossa bilaterally and abdominal wall anteriorly. It has got little obstetrical importance as it mainly supports the abdominal contents. Now the true pelvis. The part of the pelvis that lies below the pelvic brim is known as true pelvis or pelvis minor or lesser pelvis. It is bounded by the sacrum and coccyx posteriorly and ischium and pubis laterally and anteriorly. It is the area of concern in obstetrics as its dimensions are sometimes not adequate to permit the passage of fetus during labor. Female puny pelvis is divided into two parts, false pelvis and true pelvis, which are separated by the brim. False pelvis. The part of the pelvis which lies above the pelvic brim is known as false pelvis or pelvis major or the greater pelvis. It is bounded by the lumbar vertebrae posteriorly, iliac fossa bilaterally and abdominal wall anteriorly. It has got little obstetrical importance as it mainly supports the abdominal contents. Now the true pelvis. The part of the pelvis that lies below the pelvic brim is known as true pelvis or pelvis minor or lesser pelvis. It is bounded by the sacrum and coccyx posteriorly and ischium and pubis laterally and anteriorly. It is the area of concern in obstetrics as its dimensions are sometimes not adequate to permit the passage of fetus during labor. True pelvis can be further divided into inlet, cavity and outlet. Pelvic inlet. The boundaries of pelvic inlet or pelvic brim. It is known as linea terminalis, but before starting we need to know about certain important points. Like this center point, this is known as pubic symphysis. This is pubic tubercle. This is a prominence on the upper border of the medial portion of superior ramus of pubis. This one. This is iliopubic eminence. This is sacroiliac joint. This is sacral promontory. And again coming on the right side, this is right sacroiliac joint, this is right iliopubic eminence and this one is right pubic tubercle. The line between the pubic symphysis and the pubic tubercle, this one is known as pubic crest. The line joining the pubic tubercle and the iliopubic eminence, this is known as pectineal line. And if we join the iliopubic eminence and the sacroiliac joint, we get the arcuate line. Now between the sacroiliac joint and the sacral promontory, this portion is known as anterior border of ala of sacrum. There are two ala of sacrum and this one is the anterior border of ala of sacrum. Now coming on the right side, this is the anterior border of right ala of sacrum. This is the right arcuate line. This is right pectineal line and this is the right pubic crest. So now coming to the linea terminalis, it is formed by the pubic crest, the pectineal line, arcuate line, anterior borders of the ala of sacrum and the sacral promontory. So this red line, this is known as linea terminalis, or we can say this is a boundary of the pelvic inlet which divides the false pelvis and the true pelvis. Diameters of inlet. Now coming to the anterior-posterior diameters of the inlet. These are three. true conjugate, obstetrical conjugate, and diagonal conjugate. We will discuss one by one. True conjugate. It is the distance between the sacral promontory and the upper border of pubic symphysis. It is also known as anatomical conjugate or conjugate vara. It measures 11 centimeters. Obstetrical conjugate. It is the distance between the sacral promontory and the bony projection in the mid of the inner surface of symphysis pubis. It measures 10 centimeters. Diagonal conjugate is the distance between sacral promontory and the lower border of pubic symphysis. It measures 12 centimeters. Out of these three anteroposterior diameters, only diagonal conjugate can be measured clinically. That we will discuss later. For clinical purpose, the obstetrical conjugate is estimated by subtracting 1.5 to 2 cm from the diagonal conjugate. Transverse diameter. It is measured between two farthest points on the iliopectineal line. It measures 13 centimeters. There are two oblique diameters of inlet that extend between the sacroiliac joint and the opposite iliopubic eminence. The right and left denotes the side of sacroiliac joint from which it starts. As in this case, this is the right side and this is the left side. This diameter is right oblique as it starts from the right sacroiliac joint, and this one is left oblique diameter. Don't confuse with the iliopubic eminence, as in case of left oblique it is the right eminence. These diameters measure 12 cm. Pelvic cavity. Cavity is basically a segment in which the roof is formed by the inlet or the brim and the floor is formed by the plane of least pelvic dimensions. Now before proceeding, let's discuss the most confusing part related to female pelvis, that is the pelvic planes. Without the knowledge of these planes, you will not be able to understand the cavity or outlet. There are four main planes. Out of these, plane of pelvic inlet we have already discussed. That was 55-degree angle of brim with horizontal. The plane of least pelvic dimensions. This plane is also known as plane of obstetric outlet. It extends from the lower border of the symphysis pubis to the tip of fifth sacral vertebra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the tip of fifth sacral vertebra. And this is a lower border of the pubic symphysis. The plane of greatest pelvic dimensions. It extends from the midpoint of the posterior surface of symphysis pubis to the junction of second and third sacral vertebra. It is most roomy, or we can say the widest plane of the pelvis. To add on the confusion, here comes one another plane called the mid-pelvic plane. It lies a bit below the plane of greatest pelvic dimensions. It extends from the lower margin of the symphysis pubis through the ischial spine to the junction of S4 and S5, or to the tip of the sacrum depending upon the configuration of the sacrum. This is lower border of the symphysis pubis and this is the junction of S4 and S5. Now coming back to cavity, that is, it is a space between the brim and the plane of least pelvic dimensions. It is almost round and all the diameters are the same, that is the anteroposterior, oblique and transverse diameter. These all are equal and equal to 12 centimeters. Pelvic outlet. Boundaries of pelvic outlet. The pelvic outlet is bounded anteriorly by the pubic arc, laterally by the ischial tuberosities, posterolaterally by the inferior margin of the sacrotuberous ligament, and posteriorly by the coccyx. The pubic arc or the ischiopubic arc, it is formed by the convergence of inferior emi of ischium and pubis on either side below the symphysis pubis. This one is known as pubic arc or the ischiopubic arc. Obstetric outlet. This is a segment which is best explained in the sagittal view. It is bounded above by the plane of least pelvic dimensions and below by the anatomical outlet. The starting point of these two is the same, that is the lower border of the symphysis pubis. Plane of least pelvic dimensions is up to the tip of 5th sacral vertebra and the plane of anatomical outlet is up to the tip of coccyx, this one. This shaded portion is obstetric outlet. There are two transverse diameters of obstetric outlet. The bituberous diameter, that is between two ischial tuberosities, it is 11 centimeters, and the bispinous diameter between the tip of two ischial spines, it is 10.5 centimeters. After discussing the inlet, cavity and outlet, the next important topic is pelvic axis. There are two pelvic axes, anatomical axis or curve of Caras and obstetric axis. The curve of Caras, it is formed by joining the axis of inlet, cavity and outlet. We have to join the midpoints of each axis. Then a C-shaped curve is formed with the concavity towards the sacrum. This is known as the curve of Caras. But the fetus does not follow this uniform curved path during labor, so it has got no obstetrical importance. Obstetric axis. This is the actual axis followed by the fetal head. It is not uniformly curved. It is J-shaped. Up to ischial spines, it is downwards and backwards, and after ischial spines, it passes downwards and forwards. And the last topic is subpubic angle and waist space of Morris. Subpubic angle. It is the angle between two inferior pubic rami. On an average in females, it is about 80 to 85 degree. If the angle is more acute, that is less than 80 degree, the pubic arc becomes narrow. So the available space for fetal head is less as the head is displaced backwards in this case. Waist space of Morris. Normally the width of pubic arc is such that a round disc of 9.3 cm can pass through the pubic arc at a distance of 1 cm below the midpoint of the inferior border of the symphysis pubis. This distance is known as waist space of Morris. In case of an inadequate pelvis with narrow pubic arc, the fetal head would be pushed backwards and the waist space of Morris would increase. As a result, reduced space would be available for fetal head to pass through, due to which the head would be forced to pass through a smaller diameter called the available antero-posterior diameter. This is likely to injure the perineum or sometimes may cause the arrest of fetal head. So this is all about female pelvis.